Today at the City Club of Cleveland, we're listening to a special program discussing American Sikhs towards a more perfect union, featuring Dr. I.J. Singh, professor and coordinator anatomical sciences at New York University, Jasjit Singh, associate executive director of the Sikh American Legal Defense and Education Fund, and Paramjit Singh, a businessman and member of the City Club Special Program Committee. Now we would like to return to our panel for our traditional City Club question and answer period. We welcome questions from everyone, including guests. Holding the microphones today are City Club Special Projects Coordinator Lauren Sable and PR and Programs Manager Carrie Miller. We'll have our first question, please.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. I'm Stuart Musinski from Project Love Purple America. And it seems to me that what you're fundamentally talking about is not only the Sikh experience, but the American character. Unfortunately, your experience is not unique. You know, we can only look at lynchings of black people in the South, discrimination throughout our country, burnings of Mormons, persecution of Jews, etc. We all know that we have great values in America. It's one of the things that draw immigrants to our country. How do we get ordinary Americans to live our values?
Slowly. Slowly, but with a very definite assurance in your mind that it has worked so well in the past, and the future will be no less. It'll be equally good or better. You know, I'm reminded of the fact that during the Second World War, about 120,000 Japanese went to internment camps, and there were also some very good Japanese soldiers who fought for America, you know, in the American armies. So you're quite correct. These things have been part of our history. A little friction is always a good thing. A little bit too much of it needs to be discussed and debated, talked about. That's why we're here today, and I thank you. But have patience and I have total assurance that these things will work out as they have in the past. From women's right to vote, from blacks, Irish, Italians, everybody.
Is it on? Oh, there we go.
I'm sorry.
My name is Sister Donna Wilhelm, and I'm from an organization called Interact Cleveland. I want to thank all three of you for your insights. In particular, Dr. Singh, you mentioned that the goal of having so many cultures in this country is integration and not isolation or assimilation. And I think that is an incredibly valuable insight, and I think those three words are significant. My question has to do with what those of us who are not part of the Sikh community can do to be more welcoming, more inclusive, more inviting, to help that integration to happen more readily.
You know, again, I remind you, I'm an anatomist. I dissect people, not ideas too well. But you have touched on a problem that does exist, and sometimes our people, Sikhs, you know, they will say to me, "Oh, I've been here 30 years, and these Americans around me, they don't know who we are." They're disappointed. And I used to think that way, and then I thought once, and I said to them, you know, they don't know about you, but look at it another way. You've been here 30 years, what do you know about them? Have you been to any church with them? Huh? Have you been to their synagogue or church or house or changed your cuisine or language and things? How many proactive steps have you taken? And I find that in that too, our people have not done enough. So that's normal. You know, when neighbors, when people came to a new neighborhood, they would be met with a welcome basket from the neighbors. You know, there was they would have a few drinks or something, and ice was broken that way. But I live in New York, and nobody does that. Nobody brings you a bread. No, nobody brings you a basket, so what are you going to do? You can live in New York and never know the neighbor living next to you. Never meet. That's life. You've got to break the barriers. How? Slowly. Again, my same answer as I said earlier, slowly but surely. As long as we live, we'll do that, and as long as we live, we'll have these problems.
I just want to add and reinforce what Dr. Singh has said. It takes two to tango.
That's what I was trying to
We
say.
have to be proactive and do our part in making sure who we are, the value of our bringing and culture and so on, and not just focus on, doing a job, and because that doesn't enhance the society.
Yes.
And good afternoon, especially Paramjit Singh for an invitation. My name is Skip Brown, and I work for the congressional staff of Congresswoman Marsha Fudge. And I was invited particularly in order to open up and make sure that the aspect of the police involvement in our community was involved. Fortunately, as a young man, I got to meet some young Sikhs. One question I'd like to ask, certainly to the gentlemen who've been Sikhs all their lives, one aspect of the community have seen positive things from the Sikh community in reference to the businesses, the engineering. But what about the internal differences that have existed from those traditional Sikhs who wear their hair long, from a sign of strength from a youth until the adult, to that aspect of the Sikh community that does not? I'd like you to entertain that question and answer it holistically so we can have a better understanding of that Sikh community. Thank you.
You want to talk about it? You want me to talk about it?
Well, let me take a stab at it. The thing is that if you look into the Sikh history, when Guru Nanak started to preach in India, which is in the 15th century, about Sikhism, the word Sikh means a student of life in my books. And a guru means a teacher. We did not turn around and say, so-and-so is the head of the Sikh. We do revere and respect Guru Nanak. And it paralleled the Mughals ruling our country during the 200 years that we are talking about. And let's say this mandate of wearing a turban and a beard occurred with our 10th Guru. And the reason it occurred is that right from the 6th Guru, we were constantly fighting with the Muslims, the Mughals, that were trying to force conversions. What we are experiencing right now in some fashion about we were the infidels. And so therefore, from the 15th century, we as those believing in Guru Nanak's principles were trained to start fighting. So the Sikh that you see with a turban and a beard represents a saint soldier, which means we have beards. Show me a saint that doesn't have one, whether it's pictorial or whatever. And then we have a kirpan. We are ready to fight for a just cause. So there are many who, after globalization and the immigration laws changing, and also being forced in order for them to get a job and so on and so forth, they had to cut their hair so that they could be part of the society.